Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on another session of We Connect Academy Learning from Women Leaders Around the World series. My name is Andrea, and today I am very happy to introduce Raksha Mahabeer. She is the co owner of Summertime Creative. It's a company founded in South Africa. In this webinar, Raksha will decode the process of building a personal brand. I'll let Raksha share more about herself in just a moment, but I would like to remind all the attendees that you are muted. So if you have any questions or any comments, please write them down in the chat or Q&A boxes, and I'll read them out loud at the end of the webinar. This is a one-chance opportunity with an expert on this topic, so please, we encourage you to do as many questions as possible. Thank you, Raksha, for being here with us today.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Andrea. It's a delight to be here. So can I go ahead?
Go ahead, you can introduce yourself.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Raksha. I'm also known as The Beat, and I co-own a creative agency based in Johannesburg, South Africa, together with my partner. And we're really pleased to share that in February 2019, we celebrated our 12th year in business. I'm really thrilled to be spending the next 60 minutes or so with you, chatting a little bit more around a topic that is becoming increasingly important in our world, both as businesswomen and beyond that. So I'm going to switch to my presentation and we'll talk a little bit more about personal branding. Good. Great. So to give you an overview, a couple of things that we're going to chat about today. Just want to minimize this. As a quick branding 101, I thought it would be a good idea for us to have a review around these concepts. The world of branding has become so complex and there's such a lot of jargon flowing around. I thought it would be nice as an intro for us to quickly recap what the different types of branding are, what it means as an intro into this world of personal branding. So to jump right into it, I wanted to bring up a couple of images on screen. On the left, you would see a brand associated with a person, and on the right, a business brand. These are quite interesting and unique brands because there's a bit of cross-pollination of information across the personal and the business. So I want to get to an understanding. I want us to be on the same page around this topic of branding and why it's so important. And for me, the quickest way for us to get to an understanding around this is through play. I conduct this exercise in almost every single one of my masterclasses. Today's the first time I'm going to do it on a webinar, so please do play along with me. What I'm going to do on the next screen is I'm going to bring up 12 brands. They're 12 logos, and those logos have been blocked out in certain sections. So what I'd like you to do, I'm going to put a timer on for 30 seconds. What I'd like you to do is have a look at the screen. So if you have some paper and a pen, you may want to jot down the numbers 1 to 12. If not, use your phone or just play along, not needing to write anything down. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up the logos on the screen for a couple of seconds, and I'd like you to try and identify as many of them as possible in about 20 or 30 seconds. I hope you're all ready. Here's the slide. So you see 4 brands at the column on the left, 4 brands in the column in the middle, and 4 brands in the column on the right. I have purposely blocked out specific sections of each logo. I'd like you to try and identify as many of them as you can with specific sections of the logo blocked out. Keep looking at them and searching in that brain of yours to identify what those brands are. I'm sure you've been able to identify a couple by now. I'll give you a few more seconds to try and identify a few more. Okay, let's see. It's absolutely fascinating how quick the brain does work. And it's only when we put in these time-pressured scenarios that we begin to realize how speedy they are. So for the big reveal, these are the brands that I've pulled out for you to try and identify. I'm hoping that you are able to identify at least a few of those. So why do we play this game? I enjoy playing this game with my delegates because it does a couple of things. Number one, it allows you experientially to start engaging with brands. And number two, it will bring some awareness around what happens on a daily basis when we engage with brands. Why are brands so important? Because they become so deeply entrenched in our knowledge, our systems, our brains, our lives, our everyday usage, that it's not even conscious anymore. A brand as big and popular as a global one like Coca-Cola, whether you consume the product or not, you know that it exists. And irrespective of how far you go into the most deepest reaches of the most rural areas of this world, you will find the Coca-Cola brand present. The power of this happens when a purchasing decision is no longer a conscious decision. Think about it. When you get up every morning, before you leave for the house each day, you have had an innumerable amount of interactions with a brand. From the minute you lift your head off your pillow, your feet hit the floor, whether you grab a cell phone or a chapstick or a tissue or a glass of water, you get up if you move into your bathroom. There's a plethora of brands that you interact with before you even get into the kitchen for the day, leave alone leaving the house. Have you ever put some thought into how many of those brand interactions are conscious? When you go shopping in a supermarket, some purchasing decisions you may want to give some thought to. But most of them, you will be pushing your shopping trolley through the aisles of a shopping center. And without even consciously thinking about it, you are choosing products and putting them into your trolley. Can you imagine the magnitude of the power that that brand has over you, where it's no longer even a conscious decision about whether you want to buy that product or not? It's merely an act that you do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So let's look at it again. What is branding? Branding is a unique story that customers recall when they think of you. The story associates your product with their personal stories, a particular personality, what you promise to solve, and how you are different from your competitors. Marketing guru Seth Godin says a brand is a set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that, taken together, account for a consumer's decision to choose one service over another. I absolutely love this definition, and I use it in almost every masterclass of mine. And the reason I use it is because when I look at it, it gives me almost a to-do list that I need to work on in building a brand. What sort of expectations do I want customers to have of me and my business? What memories do I want to create? What stories do I want them to tell about my business? And how am I building relationships with them? When it comes to brand, the key point you want to remember is decoding what unique space you claim or you own in a consumer's mind, and how are you consciously crafting it. Let's move on to business branding. Business branding is a way of identifying your business. It's how your customers recognize and experience your business. A strong business brand is more than just a logo. I must reiterate that. A strong business brand is more than just a logo. It's reflected in absolutely everything you do, from the tone of voice that a customer hears when someone at your business answers the telephone, your customer service style, the way you dress, what your printed marketing collateral looks like. It's an entire experience that builds into your business brand. So let's get on to the topic that we're all here for today, personal branding. What is personal branding? When I was marketing this masterclass to my network, I put it out that at the end of the day, people do business with people. Whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're a professional in the working world, at the end of the day, People choose to continuously engage with you because of some unique value that you add, something unique that you bring to the business or the career relationship. And very much like a business brand, a personal brand is the practice of people marketing themselves and their careers as brands. Personal branding is essentially, it's an ongoing process of establishing a prescribed image or impression in the mind of others about an individual, a group, or an organization. And this question that comes up in every personal branding masterclass that I have, it's a question I'd like to introduce and talk a little bit right now, but it's something that we're going to revisit at the end of my presentation as well. In every masterclass that I hold, I have people in the room, whether they're entrepreneurs or working professionals, ask me the question, so what should I be building first? Should I be building out a personal brand? Should I be building out a business brand? Where should my focus be? And there's a couple of ways to answer that question, and we're going to explore them over the next few minutes. However, I'd like to reiterate that at the end of the day, people engage with people. And people only build relationships with business brands because they are something that they trust. How are you able to build that trust? By consistently showing where you are able to add unique value. And the core around this unique value concept is very personal. So let's revisit this as we go through our content. Personal and business branding. There are a couple of pros and a couple of cons to personal or business branding. And depending on where you are at what stage you are at in your business. Often I have startup entrepreneurs asking me the question when they are new in the marketplace. The question around, should they build a brand using their personal name for their business? Or those who already have built a business brand, how are they showing the unique value that they as a person or as people bring to the business? Let's go through the content and we will revisit this at the end. I would like for you to give it some thought and for you to come to a point where you can decide for yourself how you would like to build it out. So, a specific process, a step-by-step process around how to build a personal brand. I get asked this question a lot because of how complex this world of branding has become and because there's so much of content out there. It can be quite overwhelming. So it can be confusing, it can be intimidating, and people often don't even know where to start. So I would start by saying, are you aware or are you conscious of the fact that you already have a personal brand? When I'm standing in a room with people, I ask the question, how many of you are a personal brand already? Give some thought to that question. How many of you are a personal brand already? And for those of you who think that you are not, how would you like to start building out your personal brand? With the advent of social media and digital marketing, building a personal brand today is completely different to how someone would have built a personal brand out 15 or 20 years ago. I would like to tell you today that whether you know it or not, you are already a personal brand. Whether you are engaging on social media or not, you are a personal brand. So the process of building out a personal brand has often been around developing content and sharing topic or expertise specific content that you would like to be known for. However, today, in almost every second of every minute of every day, we have become content creators. Whether we know it or not, we are creating content and sharing it with an audience. Whether you are doing this via a WhatsApp status, a Facebook post, an Instagram post, a LinkedIn update, or a tweet, a pin on Pinterest, we are creating content all the time. That content is already creating a public perception of who you are. And that, my dears, is the starting point of your personal brand. In a digital space, that's a starting point. in the physical world, how you engage with other people, what you speak about, what you choose to do as a career, what you choose to do during your free time, whether you have a family or not. Every single factor about you as a being builds towards your personal brand. So, very much like your personality is made up of so many factors, your personal brand is as well. Your gender, your age group, whether you are religious or not, your level of education, the geographical area that you grew up in, how you speak, what you speak, where you speak, every single thing of these aspects that make you uniquely you is a part of your personal brand. So let's start with this process. Step one. Step one, if you would like to build a personal brand, is the psychology around it. So before you even choose to do a single thing about it, the first step is to step into being a personal brand. And that is about seeing yourself as a brand. The minute you make the decision, hi, this is me, I'm Raksha, and I'm a personal brand. This is what I bring to the world. That decision alone shifts something within you. You start seeing the potential about you within you. You start thinking about your positioning. And just an entirely different level of consciousness is raised around every single thing that you do. The awareness before you do anything, whether it's business or personal, before you share a post on Facebook, before you comment on an article on LinkedIn, before you choose to publicize that you have gone to a specific type of event over the weekend with your friends, every single one of those actions and decisions will now have a different layer of thought process going into them before you do them, because they will start to build towards your public persona, who you are as a personal brand in the world. So that's step one. Step into seeing yourself as a brand. Step two, my favorite. And step two is often the answer to every question that gets asked of me at the end of every masterclass. So step two, as Socrates said, is know thyself. Building a personal brand is first and foremost developing an understanding of your true self and showing that to the world, sharing that with the world, understanding and being your authentic self. If you think about all the personal brands that I brought up at the start of this presentation, or any other personal brand who appeals to you in this world, start decoding what it is about them that resonates with you. What is it about them that attracts you to them? And often those very things are authentically what makes them who they are. When people operate from a place of authenticity, you are able to connect with them much more easily. That doesn't mean to say you have to connect with everyone. So personal branding is about showing who you are with the intention to have like-minded people be attracted to you and engage with you. So it's quite a deep thing, this knowing yourself, knowing who am I. It takes quite a bit of personal strength to want to delve this deep. Society today has become quite superficial. However, I do feel that it is shifting and people are searching. And in this search, people are doing a lot of self-discovery to understand who I am. The concepts of personal mastery and personal development have become really huge and beyond just being buzzwords. It's about doing the work that needs to be done so that you can truly understand who you are. So in taking on this work of knowing thyself, seek out help if needed. If you feel you need a little bit of help decoding a certain aspect of your personality and decoding whether or not you want that to remain a private part of your life, or whether it's something that potentially you could step into the light and make it a part of your public profile and a personal brand that you would be building. So I would say seek out help if you need to. Work with a personal coach, work with a mentor, work with a community leader, a spiritual leader, a respected person in your family, someone who you trust, and someone who is going to be honest with you. So do this work around decoding yourself. And in doing this work, Know what your strengths are, know what your weaknesses are. Get real about what drives you, what your passions are. Get real about what frustrates you. Because often in the world, when we find controversial stories out there in the media, it's a tension of people who are not living their authentic selves and eventually end up having completely unnecessary outbursts in a public space. So become real, get to understand who you are, and in knowing who you are, start to decode and understand what it is, what aspects of your personality you would like to make known out in a public space. So know yourself. Step 3. This word used to intimidate every single entrepreneur I know of, myself included. Whenever the word strategy comes up, people's backs suddenly sit up straighter, and I can actually feel the energy in a room shift. It's a very fancy word to say that we should have a plan. So once we know ourselves and once we know what it is that we want to be known for in the marketplace, what area do I feel that I am an expert on? What area can I provide insight, comment, feedback on? Then start creating a strategy or a plan around how you would like for that to be made access to your market or to the public. So to give you a simple example, if you were wanting to be known as the next greatest public speaker, what aspects of your personality speak to that? And where would you like to publicize or put it out there that you're a fantastic public speaker? So a strategy would simply be putting a plan in place to decide the specific mediums that you would like to create content for, and having aligned to that the specific topics that you would like to speak on. So think about platforms and approaching this from a digital marketing strategy perspective. There are so many platforms to choose from, and often as entrepreneurs, we make the grave mistake of wanting to be on every single platform. So do your research and put some intentional thought and planning into which platforms are going to work best for you. So if you were to put content onto Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, have a blog and a mailing shot, that may just be a little too much. Get a deep and clear understanding of who your market is. And in understanding who your market is, you will understand where they play. Would you prefer to be on a LinkedIn platform, or would it be more effective for you to rather be on a monthly radio show? Is there a specific slot on a local or a national radio station that speaks about your area of expertise or your area of interest? Would you rather write a column for a newspaper or a magazine on an ongoing basis that speaks very specifically to your target audience? So start thinking strategically about where you would like to place yourself and what it is that you would like to be speaking about. And that quite simply is a plan or a strategy. So start putting the bare bones of that together. And as you start functioning in it and operating it and contributing towards it, you will start getting a feel of what works better than the other and start shifting your content between platforms for the most optimal return. Step 4, once you've decided where you want to be and what you want to be speaking about, you want to create some really compelling content. And I know content can be quite intimidating again. Not every single one of us are good writers or good photographers or good producers of videography or any sort of content. So start thinking about how you can bring in the right people to assist you with this content. Sometimes it may be a matter of you know the content, it's in your head, it's your IP. So you would put it down and simply get a professional copywriter to do the editing and proofreading to get it ready to put out into a public profile. So think about your content. Similarly, when it comes to your content, when building out a personal brand, you really want to have the content about yourself depicted in a professional way. So you want a good bio written up, a good biography of yourself, your experience, your expertise. What makes you the subject matter expert to speak on this specific area or topic? Similarly, today, people consume content visually more than they consume the written word. People don't read as much as they used to. So also think about, depending on the nature of the topic that you want to own or claim, start thinking a bit more about visual content. Have good pics done. So if you need specific profile pictures for different platforms, have professional pics done. Often unprofessional pics create a bad impression of you. We do this all the time. We are content consumers every day. And whether we know it or not, we are making judgments about people and about the content that they are sharing. It is not even a conscious thing anymore. When you look at an image, depending on how that photo was taken or how that video was shot, it's not even conscious anymore that you think, oh, look at the angle that they took it from, or look at the lighting, how bad, or she didn't even care to dress properly for her profile pic or for her bio. It's not conscious, but you have a feeling. That and all of those unconscious cues feed into an emotional reaction that says, nah, I don't like it too much, or wow, that's amazing. This is someone that I should listen to. So give some thought to the type of content that you're creating. Ensure that your bio is well written. Ensure that it's authentic. People have access to so much of information nowadays. If you're going to put something into your biography, ensure that it is authentic and it is real. People can go and search it. People can go and find out if you were alumni at a specific educational institute, if you did work at a specific organization, if you are an expert in that specific field. So be honest in terms of content. You want to look into things like writing articles, writing blogs. In addition to content, there's two aspects to speak about. So one area is original content, which is content that you would think of and that you would create from scratch. Original content is your creation. We could also create content that is curated content. So curated content is content that is somebody else's. So for example, if you're an architect and if you subscribe to a couple of blogs, a couple of newsletters, and you belong to a couple of groups on LinkedIn, Facebook, etc., where people are speaking about the latest architectural innovations. You could take that content and you could share it across your platforms. And that would be called curated content. But my advice would be not to simply share that content, but to provide comment or your unique take on what it is that you are sharing. I'll give you an example. We've worked with a client who is an architect, and we had worked with him for about 2 years in building out his business brand. And he was quite serious about positioning his personal brand now and going into a higher level market. And he started building out his personal brand quite intentionally using LinkedIn. And he was very intimidated by this idea of creating content. And that's exactly what he did. He went and started following and joined groups for lots of industry-related content. And about a year ago, a press release was issued about a new structure that was going up in Dubai. So Dubai was now working on its first fully rotatable skyscraper. And it was the most fascinating thing to think of. Here is this huge, tall building amidst all the other absolutely fascinating buildings in Dubai. And this building was going to revolve. The entire building was going to be revolvable, and certain sections of the building could revolve. So this was absolutely fascinating. How would the plumbing work? How would the electricity work? How would different sections of this building work but still work together as one organism? And for example, he shared that article online, and he gave his unique spin from an architect's perspective, how the inner workings of this building will probably work. That's an example of how to use curated content. So if the idea of content seems huge and intimidating, break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces and just start, because you are doing this already. If you have posted a post on Facebook, if you have posted something onto Instagram, if you sent out a tweet, you are already creating content. When it comes to personal branding, all we are doing is making that more intentional. So once we've got our strategy in place, we know where we're going to be, we know what we're going to be saying, we know who we're going to be saying it to. Once we've created our content, what we want to do is we want to ensure alignment. So you want to review, you almost want either you going to do it or get someone you trust, someone a bit independent, to almost do an audit on you. So to independently review all of your content, all of your profiles, your offline stuff, your online content, and ensure that everything is aligned. Across all your different platforms, you want your bios to be the same. I'm not saying that the length of them needs to be the same. Different platforms will call for different types of content, but essentially you want the core messaging and the content to be consistent. So the most memorable, the most successful brands in the world are those that are memorable, meaningful, and consistent. And I cannot stress the need for consistency enough. When we engage with entrepreneurs on a daily basis, our first engagement with them is often to do a brand audit. And I don't blame them. As entrepreneurs, we have so much to take care of, and often this doesn't get prioritized. But it can really do discredit to your brand. And it's not even a conscious thing, like I say. People who engage with it don't really know why. They can't articulate why it doesn't work for them, but something about it just says, I don't know if this guy knows what he's talking about, or I don't get a sense that he's professional. They can't put it down to what it is exactly, but as creative designers and brand builders, it's our job to decode this. So we decode this on a daily basis so that people can then consciously and intentionally craft it for the desired outcome. So alignment. Step number 6, a really important step, and one that unfortunately gets overlooked sometimes. Every day, with every client and every person you serve, at every touch point, consistently deliver exactly what your brand promises. Anything less will simply not do. And doing that will create the most positive stories that people will speak about you and your brand. And this speaks to authenticity and integrity. The most frustrating thing, and I'm sure every single one of us has had an experience like this, where we meet someone or we engage with a brand who creates a specific promise. And the most disappointing thing is to be let down by a brand who isn't able to deliver on that promise. So again, when you are going back to do the work on knowing yourself, on understanding who you are, you need to put a lot of time into that around being real about it, because the market is going to test you. The market is going to push you. The market is going to demand the right outcomes from you. So ensure that what you say you do is authentically what you do, and that is what you will consistently deliver on for your clients, for your market, for whoever it is that you engage with. Step 6, deliver. And step seven is a really big one, because as we know, the only constant in life is change. Our world is changing at an intensely rapid rate. And I mean, just from the world that my partner and I operate in, this world of branding and marketing, in the last 10 years, and then again in the last 2 years, this world is evolving at such a rapid rate. The world of digital marketing, the world of personal branding, the world of business branding, the way we do things, it has completely been flipped on its head. A process that would take a client up to 6 months in the past can now be done in 6 days, or sometimes even 6 hours. So we have an obligation. If we as a personal brand are saying, I am claiming this unique space in the mind of my market, I am owning this space and claiming that I am the expert in this field. I am the voice of reason. I am your go-to person in this area. Then best you stay current around that area. Last year, after being in business for 11 years, my partner and I took ourselves back to school. We went right back to a campus in Johannesburg and went and refreshed ourselves on a course around branding and marketing. Bear in mind, we have been delivering this work for our clients for 11 years at that stage, delivering it successfully. However, we had a very realistic view of what was happening with our market and the pace at which it was changing. We had done short courses to keep ourselves current, but last year was the time to take a serious chunk of time out and go and ensure that we are current for our market. And just speaking that, it almost makes you stand taller because your confidence expands. The more you know, you are able to stand more confident and deliver more confidently for your client. And it's just this most beautiful circle or cycle that continues. As your confidence increases, your client's confidence in you increases, and they will continuously come back to you. So this is a serious ask of each of you to ensure that you keep learning, learn new things, develop new skills, expand your knowledge in your area of expertise. If you're not growing, then you're stagnating, and that's the last thing you want to do. However, don't forget how important it is for you to have accomplished something yourself. You can't talk about something that you haven't done because that will take away from your personal brand. Be open about your shortcomings and your weaknesses. That will make you all the more human and more relatable. We see this every day with the brands that we engage with out there in the world. This facade of perfection, in as much as we love it, we understand the human factor of brands. And if anything, it is that human factor that allows us to connect more with people. When I see you as a real person who succeeds and fails, then I'm able to connect with you more and become more relatable. So keep learning. We've spoken a lot about this process of how to build a brand. I've given you a very high-level process to follow. Today, I've gone through those points very quickly, keeping the time in mind that we have. But you will find that once you actually make the commitment to go in and do the work, it can take a bit of time. Seek the help that you need. Be brave, because it's going to put a mirror up to you that sometimes you may not have been ready to look into. So be brave and get real about where you are and what you are all about. And then step into your light, own it, and go out into the world and share it. Why bother? Why do we do this? And I absolutely love this graphic because it speaks to the hashtag that's been trending for a couple of years now, the living your best life world, where if you are able to find out what your strengths are and set goals based on doing what you love to do, continuously build your skills in that area. And the most amazing thing is when you are able to teach that. The most insightful learning happens, and I speak this from experience, the most insightful learning happens when you are able to teach to others what you are an expert in. And what that does, it makes you the voice of reason in that specific area for your market. You gain credibility, and the true power comes when you no longer, your sell isn't as hard as it needs to be, when you are sought out by people. When they say, hey, she's the person to talk to for X, Y, and Z. And all that's going to lead to is what we need in this world. We need more happy and fulfilled people doing what they love doing every single day in this world. This year, my first client meeting when I reopened the business after the festive break was a dynamic entrepreneur who had just exited the corporate world. And I love that she called me for the meeting because she said to me what often I have to sell to clients. She said to me, I've recently exited the corporate world and I have launched 2 businesses and my sales pitch is really long. I would like for the sales process to be a little shorter. I said, unfortunately, that's the life of a startup entrepreneur. We're selling every single day. Every minute of every day is an opportunity to pitch your business. However, If you are able to build your personal brand out to an extent where you are seen as the expert or authority in that area, the sales pitch doesn't need to be as long or as hard. If your digital platforms, your content, your public relations, everything that you put out there supports the message that you are the expert to go to for that specific topic, then your personal brand will help you immensely in the sales process for your business. Essentially, what we want is to become happy and fulfilled as human beings. And I believe that by following this process, that is going to help get us there faster. So we come back to this question that we visited at the start of the presentation. Should we be building out our personal brand or should we be building out our business brand? The answer, unfortunately, is not one that I think you are going to like, but unfortunately, you will have to accept and work on. The answer lies with you. Once you've done the work to understand who you are, what makes you tick, how you want to be put out there in the world, why you are an expert, what you are an expert in, you will start to get a clear sense on which area you need to focus your attention on first. So if you have built out a business brand already, inevitably at the end of the day, people want to know who is behind that business. Why are they qualified to provide this product or service to me? What research have they done? What makes them different? What makes them unique? What value do they add? So inevitably, people end up searching for the person behind the brand. And today, more than ever, we are able to search across multiple platforms, multiple variations of search engines to find out what is she like in her personal life on Facebook? What is she like in her business life on LinkedIn? How does she engage visually on Pinterest and Instagram? Is she a thought leader? Does she write for specific industry-related publications? What's her public relations profile like? Does she speak regularly on a specific slot? What is she speaking on? And it starts to build. So this world of personal and business branding, I believe, is coming closer and closer together. Depending on you, depending on how you wish to build it out, make a decision from there. To give you an example, I had an entrepreneur in one of my masterclasses who said to me, listen, I run a business, I've been running it successfully, and if I want to have a tequila on a Friday morning, it's nobody's business. I'm going to continue doing what I love. And if I want to put it on Facebook, I'm going to put it on Facebook. That was her knowing her authentic self and living it unapologetically. In no way am I saying that was right or that was wrong. I'm illustrating the point that in knowing herself so well, she understood how she wants to be perceived in the market and understood how that's going to implicate or influence the perception of her business in the marketplace. And she was comfortable with that. Maybe her business was in selling tequila. Maybe it fit. Understand for you what it is that you are selling on a daily basis in your career or in your business, and how that feeds into how the market perceives you, and whether or not it will encourage people to engage with you or discourage people to engage with you. I've had entrepreneurs who have said to me, I've got all the privacy settings locked on all of my profiles. So I do have all my social profiles, but it's only my friends and family who have access to it. And my business stuff I'll put on business related platforms. So you decide for yourself. How comfortable, what is your degree of comfort in putting yourself out there? How much of it would you prefer to put out there? How much of it would you like to hold back on? I'd like to remind you the overarching message at the start of this whole presentation. At the end of the day, people do business with people. People want to engage, and it is through engagement that you build a sense of trust, and it is through engagement that you get validation or affirmation of someone's ability to deliver a particular product or service, which then results in business, which then hopefully results in repeat business. So give some thought to what that is for you. In closing, I'd like to remind us of this beautiful quotation that Jeff Bezos shared. Think about what it is like for you. Think about what people are saying about you when you are not in the room. And that is your personal brand. That has already been built. That has already been crafted around you. The sharing from today's presentation is, would you like that personal brand to be a consequence of your daily actions? Or would you like that personal brand to be built out with intention, with purpose, with authenticity, and with direction? So thank you so much for your time. That's what I've had to share with you about personal brand today. Andrea, let's take a couple of questions for the remainder of our time together.
Sure. Thank you so much, Raksha. That was very, very interesting, and on time. So I encourage everybody to please. I think I have some questions already here. Let me just open. This is the moment you have to make questions. So we encourage all of you to do as many questions as possible by writing them down on the Q&A boxes. I think there were people raising their hands. You're muted, so I cannot allow you to speak up. But if you can write down your questions, that would be awesome. If you have any questions, I have some people that raised their hands, so I am assuming that they wanted to do questions. So please, for to all of you that have raised your hands, um, make sure to type down your questions. Okay. So how can we get hold of you, and do you only work in South Africa?
Okay, great question. I'll flip over to the next slide that has my contact details. And the contact details would have also been on the webinar invite. So it's such an interesting one because my partner and I have just in the last 4 months shifted our business model over to a location independent virtual model as a business. So to answer your question, we are able to service anyone across our country, our continent, and the world. And we have worked with people already nationally and internationally. Yes, so I'd look forward to get in touch and engage with you.
Yes, please. If you can see the screen, there is Raksha's personal information. So feel free to catch up with her after this session. I have a couple of other questions. If you want and like to do many things, is it possible to do all of them if they are part of you, or you have to choose only one field to develop?
It's such a beautiful question because we are multidimensional as human beings. We have so many aspects to us. And I think it's impossible for us to say, I am only this, or I am only that. The key is to understand and really get real about what, in terms of a personal brand, what would you like to be known for? What would you like to be known for? Today, when we're talking about personal branding, we're approaching the discussion from a business perspective, from a how do I influence people? How do I sell a particular product or service? And how do I sell a particular product or service? By showing that I am the expert. How in my daily life or my lifestyle does this fit in so that it is deeply ingrained into what I do on a daily basis that informs how I deliver this product or service for you, thereby ensuring that I am the expert. So absolutely, we are multidimensional. We are going to have so many aspects to our identity, so many aspects to our personality. I am not saying only choose one. I'm saying for the purposes of building out a business or a career, choose one area that you want to own and you want to be the expert in, to become influential, for your market to follow you on, and so that you can build a business around. However, there's a whole level to personal branding that speaks to your personal life. And we see so many people doing this so successfully, you know. If we look at Richard Branson, we understand his bold and daring personality that kind of is the ethos around the Virgin brand and how it allowed him to disrupt certain markets and go and have these huge successful and these brilliant failures that he shared so publicly. And as another level to his whole world and his whole brand is his very strong family man. So as part of his personal brand, even though he's this bold and daring and courageous and outrageous, and photos of him falling off the front of his bicycle the other day with blood coming down his forehead, you get a sense of what a bold and adventurous man he is. But at the same time, a lot of his content is around his wife and how solid and stable they've been for so many years. His children, who now have children of their own, so how he's evolving as his grandchildren are a part of his life, how he travels around the world, and how he'll bring his family to his lodge in South Africa once a year because that family time is important to him. So even though there are many aspects to your personal brand, from the perspective of building out a business and establishing yourself as an expert in a specific field, I would advise that you narrow it down. If you try to be everything to everyone, you're going to risk, number one, confusing your audience, and number two, diluting your value. So if you stay in one area and dig deep in that one area, you're going to give it everything that you can to truly shine there. If you focus across too many things, you'll end up having impact in a lot of areas, but it will be slightly more superficial. Superficial in many areas versus intense in one area. Again, this is about knowing yourself. So I'm giving you advice here. You will work out for yourself what is going to resonate for you at the end of your life journey, what's going to make you happy to say, this was my story and this was where I made impact. Maybe it's to say, when I hear entrepreneurs doing this, who start up a business to say, I will be exiting in 10 years because I'm building out this empire for the next 10 years, and then I'm building a lifestyle business thereafter that I can retire on, which will be my true passion, that is flower arranging or something. So think about, give that a little bit of thought for yourself, and yeah, I hope that helps.
Okay, we have a few other questions. When I share content of mine on my company page, I also share the same on my Facebook timeline. Is that okay?
So, generally the rule across platforms is that you shouldn't share the same content across platforms. So across platforms, you should tailor it for the specific platform and the market that it's talking to. But your question is specifically Facebook. And within the platform, it's okay. It's absolutely okay to share the content because you're linking your business content to you as a person. However, you want to write a bit about it. You don't just want to do a clean share. You want to write a little bit about, my business is doing this, or it was really great for us to create this new opportunity or product or service. So write a bit of an intro around it to further reinforce the link between you and your business, or bring them in. Every single post that you create is an opportunity to communicate with your audience and engage them. So bring them into your world, bring them into your process, ask a question around it, do something that's going to take them from passive listeners or engagers to active engagers, from passive listeners to active engagers. Okay.
Okay, next question. Why should we worry about what information about yourself is public if you don't have anything to hide?
Then you shouldn't worry. If you authentically feel that every single thing I share works well for who I am as a person and how it relates to me as an individual and how it relates to me as a business owner or how it relates to me as a professional in a career, perfect. Then don't worry about it.
Okay, thank you. What's the best platform for putting yourself out there, and what key areas should one focus on?
Good question. The platform is entirely dependent on who you are, what you do, and what area you want to be seen in. So if you were a photographer, I'd have a very different answer for you if you were specifically looking for a platform to be visible in. If you were a business analyst, then you might want to look at a slightly different platform where peers, etc., could see you as an expert in that field. So know yourself, know your industry, and know your market. And knowing where your market plays or where your market engages, where your market goes to advice, where your market goes to for recruitment, where your market goes to for guidance, that's the platform you want to be on. So definitely not one blanket answer for that question.
Another question. I have been in business for 20 years, but not published all that I have done during this time, such as presence in events with top brands, neither as a brand or a person. Should I mention all that story now?
Andrea, you say the question was, I've been in business for 20 years, and for the past 20 years, I've published all my business content.
She has not published. So she has been in business for 20 years.
Yes.
However, nothing that she has done, even though it's been a lot of presence, for example, in events with top brands, she hasn't shared this. Should she?
Okay.
I understand that she's saying that if she should mention all that story
Yes.
now.
You know, it's such a common problem we have as entrepreneurs, and it's not a problem, it's just a reality of how we operate. We need to take care of so many things, and we find ourselves in the same situation, working with phenomenal people on phenomenal projects and just having this sense of accomplishment, and then suddenly thinking, oops, we didn't tell anybody, nobody knows that we did this. Be creative around how you can introduce that into your content. So if there was uh, an event or a project or something that you had worked on related to a specific topic or related to a specific product or area, and you are doing that again, then use that as an opportunity to share. When we did this in 2012, we had approached it from this angle for XY client. We've evolved the solution to do blah, 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 blah. Do you get a sense of what I'm saying? So start thinking creatively around how you can introduce that content. And now, if you're talking about digital specifically, there's so many creative hashtags that are used to bring out content that is a little dated. So if you do flashbacks and think about creating a hashtag that's unique to your business, that speaks to your history and your journey and your legacy and why it adds value to where you are today, because that's essentially what it is. 20 years of experience in a business brings a huge amount of value into what you are able to deliver today. So it's really important for you to still find a creative way of bringing that into your content. Think of how you can do that related to your business. Like I say, create a hashtag, create campaigns. When there's repeat types of business in that area, share how you had done it in the past. Or if your projects were related to a specific topic or a specific area, a specific product, you may want to write a piece around how delivering that over the last 20 years has evolved. So yeah, start thinking creatively around it, and you should find a way of sharing it.
Do you believe that your location creates a predisposition? I believe that's what it's trying to say about your personal brand when pitching yourself to international companies or recruiters. If not, can you please share some African examples of good practice personal branding?
When you say, the question was where your position is, your location, physical location.
It's like if the location affects, I believe, the location creates or has some effect about your personal brand when pitching yourself to international recruiters and companies. If not,
Yes.
if you can share some African examples of good practice personal branding.
Yes, it's very interesting because, again, depending on the nature of your business or the nature of your area of expertise, it can influence it. So in the entrepreneurship world, if someone says they've spent 6 months in Silicon Valley building out a something, people's ears are going to prick up. They're going to want to listen to, hey, that's the place where it's all happening in terms of tech. What did you learn? So location can play a huge role. However, the ways of the world are shifting enormously, and virtual work is becoming way more acceptable. People are finding value in allowing businesses the autonomy to deliver whatever it is that they deliver in a way that they want to deliver, and not specifically restricted or refined to specific locations or office space in a specific area and within specific hours. So it can be quite open. Think think about, again, who your target market is and if it's important to them. If it is important to them, if you know them well enough, and if it is important to them, then you may want to put some thought into how you are positioning yourself around it if you aren't in the optimal location that is perceived as valuable to them. And there's many ways of doing that. You can find something else that is of value or differentiation or unique to you beyond merely location. Some African examples of personal brands. There's so many. Obviously, there's a ton in the entertainment industry. We've got the likes of your Shlubi and Boya. In the business world, we've got our Raymond Ackermans and quite a lot. A very influential female entrepreneur in our network who speaks a lot is the founder of one of the biggest retail household appliance stores, Margaret Hirsch, who runs Hirsch's stores. And she's extremely intentional around how she's building her personal brand. She won't go to an event without her social media person following her around, creating content and sharing it. And you see how she worked out her content plan between original content, personal content, business related. I was just on Facebook before I went online, and she's now sharing content on LinkedIn actually about the latest range of mugs that are being sold in her store that matches beautifully with a specific range of kettles. And in the next post, she'll be talking about some inspirational entrepreneurial stuff and how to persevere through challenging times. So think about that. And I hope that answers your question. If not, feel free to reach out to me directly and we can talk about it in a bit more detail.
Thank you so much, Raksha. Yes, we have run out of time, but I'm very excited about all these questions. I think this webinar has been amazing for all the attendees, so thank you so much for the time. I just want to remind everyone that the recording is going to be available in the next following days. If you still have some questions or you would like to connect with Raksha, I encourage you to send her an email. Her contact information is displayed on your screen, so don't hesitate to connect with her. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you so much, Raksha, for all this amazing information that you have shared with us today. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye now.